Welcome back, friends. I'm glad you could join us for the next segment. We have got it full of all kinds of information and fun things today. I'd like to introduce you to a couple of people that are here with me. Since the last segment, we've moved down to the Duval Island boat ramp, and this is a different shot of the lake. And with us, we have Tom Ritchie again, who's nice enough to come and help us out. And we also have our fishing aficionado, Parker. And he's just amazing. He is my little preppy Huck Finn, and we love him. He knows more about fishing than I've ever known or forgotten. So we're going to get a real treat this segment, and why don't you come along and join us? We're going to go and we're going to see the lake from the lake's perspective this time.
One of the great things about this lake is there's still a lot of unspoiled shoreline. Of course, where the houses are, where they want to put them close to the water, they've built up the land and they have seawalls or revetment walls protecting them from flooding. But when you see the natural landscape, it's interesting to look at the trees you find there. And so we can see, just by looking at the trees that grow on the exposed land there, that this is a lake that has a variable level. Look at this lake system. It's very uneven, it's very crenellated, the edge. I mean, the Floral City pool of Lake Salapopka is about 2 miles long in length, but you can probably say the shoreline is 10 times greater than that, right, because of the indentations and everything. And also, it's not just a smooth, flat bottom. It's got deep spots and the like. This is essentially a gigantic solution sinkhole. And so these lakes in this part of Florida, western part of the west of the Central Ridge, as it's called, is notorious for lakes. Look at all the lakes and ponds and things that we have around here.
Even ones that you don't know are there. There's a stand of trees, and they're everywhere. They're
right.
Dotted. Yeah.
The geology of Florida is fascinating because the bedrock, the upper levels of the bedrock, I should say, are limestone deposits that were formed when Florida was completely covered over in the shallow sea. And that stuff tends to dissolve away with acidic waters and the like. And as the lime rock dissolves, the surface layer collapses into it. Well, this is a solution type sink, which means it's a very gentle lowering of the surface. It's not a collapse sinkhole, but that deep spot is what we would call a subsidence or collapse sinkhole, and they're all interconnected. So we've got a shallow basin with some separate collapse sinkholes scattered around in it.
The fact is that you can't go anywhere else and have as much beauty, I think. You can go to Clearwater in Miami and the Keys and see all that beautiful ocean and palm trees, but up here you have the cypress and the lakes, and I just say there can't be many things other than beautiful. Floral City is where I love. I've lived here for 2 years now. I wouldn't want to move.
And we were talking, this is Duval Island all over here, and you'll see on maybe some shots we have that you can see that what the island itself was. Most of the time it was, I mean, after like the settlers and things came here, it was orange groves.
Right.
Lots of orange groves. I imagine all of these from Hampton
There
groves,
were many orange groves
all
in the
around
area.
these lakes.
There were serious freezes in the middle 1980s, 1985, 1986. 1985, the first freeze, a lot of people pruned back their trees, cut off the dead material. Then the next winter we had a harder freeze and killed trees right down to the ground below the grafts, and a lot of people just said that's enough. But a few replanted, and we've had a few hard freezes since then, but nothing so bad that it killed, destroyed the trees.
Now, Doc Ferris, when his father came in to Homosassa and did the land Homosassa development deal.
They came in the late 1920s.
Was it the 20s? Okay.
Wanting to take advantage of the land boom.
Right.
And then they lost everything.
They lost everything.
Yeah.
Well, so this was part of his...
Right.
He already had this then?
Well, the father bought this property,
Right.
and he was going to develop it into a playground for millionaires and an 18-hole golf course.
We're so glad that didn't happen.
Millionaires from up north, you
Yeah.
know, as we
Yeah.
used to refer to them as
Yeah.
carpetbaggers. You know.
Yeah. Well, he was what, Simmons bed manufacturing president, so yeah, Chicago, yeah.
But the land fell out, thank goodness. I mean, I
Yep.
think it's safe to say
For
that
us,
now
yes,
for
now.
our benefit. And his son inherited it, and in order to pay the taxes on it, he decided to use it and grow oranges and turned it into a huge successful venture until, of course, the big freezes did so much damage.
The area behind me is, now we call it Johnson Island. Back in, if you get, you know, when we're always talking about these books, the Floral City book here, there's a picture on page 101, and it's Boswell's Island. You have to look at the lake and how still it was, and remember that this isn't like snapping a picture today. I mean, these people, everything had to be still when the shutter was open for 10 minutes, sometimes?
Well, yeah, several seconds anyway.
Long enough.
Yes.
And so you didn't get the instantaneous picture. So the fact that some of these are as clear as they are, it's just fascinating. And then to see that Johnson Island now has turned into basically the same as it was before.
If you look at this old photo, you can see oak trees, but then down low are dense, dark citrus trees. So this was actually part of a citrus grove at one time.
Okay.
In 1894, 95, it got frozen out and destroyed as a citrus grove. But
Now this was an island that was off of the end of Duval Island.
Right.
And Mrs. Ferris, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mrs. Ferris told my mom a story once when I was sitting down at the floor listening about how the reason that it is now a causeway, that it is connected, is because Doc Ferris had a backhoe and he wanted to play with it. So he picked up all that stuff and then he made a causeway to go over there.
well, there was a ferry crossing right here where the high tension electric wires cross. Yeah, this was a ferry crossing, and people would, you know, take mules across and to work in the fields and to get from, that's mainland, and then this is the island.
Right behind me, you will see Moonrise Resort. And we're going to actually go up and we're going to talk to Sue Ellen Friddle and her husband Mike a little bit. And they're going to show us what they have up there, and we'll get to talk to her for a minute. Moonrise Resort was an old fishing camp back in old Florida times. It started in the 1950s. Sue Ellen and her husband bought it, I believe, in the 80s, and they've continued it on. Back in the days when it was, you didn't really have all the theme parks and stuff yet, and you really just wanted to come and spend time with your family. You didn't have the plush accommodations of some of the places, you know, of the resorts and things, but this was a place you could come, you could enjoy old Florida, and you could really enjoy your family and just really make those memories. So this is one little part of old Florida that has stayed, and so we're going to go on up there and we're going to get a look at what's going on, and I'm really excited, so come along with us.